Good morning. I hope everybody slept well. Like I said, I sneak out I went for a nap, 2.5 hours, which was really good. Then start running at 3 in the morning to do the big loop, to complete the 5th lap. So I'm now the 5th lap in this huge challenge. On the leading board, I'm still second, so there's this guy in front of me, Lee. But you know, right now it's a very individual challenge. So last night I was able to check out some of your questions. I'm gonna answer a few. Someone asked, we're wondering these tape that I put on my feet, what are they? Yes, they are medical tape. So basically what I do, my routine with my feet, I do have access with all of this, so I'm gonna use it. Whereas in the challenge I did in Florida, that 250-mile self-supported, I didn't have access to water, to wash myself, so it was gross. Just like in Hawaii also. But here, every time I finish a loop, I might as well get the most out of it. So basically, I wash with baby wipes. And then I'm gonna dry my feet with rubbing alcohol. Kind of disinfect at the same time. If there's any blister or something I have to check out, I'm gonna do it. So far so good, nothing to declare. And when I go out, so I put some medical tape on the area that I'm guessing there could be some friction. So to avoid any start of any blister. So for me it's kind of here and maybe here. That's all. So this is for the medical tape. Now we'll see. I don't think in the water, because it's supposed to rain tomorrow, I don't think it's gonna stick for a while, so maybe I'm gonna go the hard way and put some duct tape. Duct tape is pretty cool. It's stuff. So that was an answer for that question. Other question I got, watch. Do I use a watch to? Because yeah, the person asked. In the previous video, I talked about my pace. I maintain the same pace or no? And he was saying, I haven't seen you with a GPS watch. So how does that work? Do you use one? So good area to talk about. Good subject to talk about. Here I don't use a GPS watch. Just the watch for the time. For different reason. Right now I don't own any. Sometimes I do have one, sometimes no. Some of the reason why I don't carry one in races, I wouldn't want to break it. Yeah. And also in long distances like that, the battery will run out before I finish the challenge. So yeah. But how do I know my pace? I just keep track of every lap I do, every loop I do, every section. For example, the big loop, I know from start to the bridge, it's more or less an hour. And the start from the road, it's 45 minutes. And then to cross that creek, it's an hour 30. And I should get to the water jar at 2 hours. So I break it down, and if I get earlier or later, I have a sense of what my pace is overall. So this is what I do here. But a GPS watch, it's fun. So for example, if you're a road runner, you will use a lot more the pace thing, you know, your 5 miles an hour. For example, whereas in trail, when you train, it's not so much, okay, go train at that pace, because it really depends on the terrain. If it's super steep or super technical, you're not going to cover the same distances. So it's more when we train in trail, we will we will prescribe in time. So you're going to go do a session of 1 hour instead of, distance. Instead of, okay, you're going to go for a 5-kilometer session. So I hope it answered your question regarding the watch. Other question I saw, let's talk about food. So Rock Creek CrossFit, they asked me how, what is the caloric expend?
Caloric expenditure?
Sorry?
How many calories you expend?
Yes.
Caloric expenditure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so it's a good question. I haven't calculated, but more or less I know that for my size, my gender, my weight, and my level of activity, of training, like normal, in a normal week, I spend more or less 2,500 calories. So in an event like this, it probably goes up to 5,000. Because it's, Now I don't really know how many calories am I taking in right now. I'm just eating and eating and eating. I don't have the the tool to measure them. But that's about it. So yeah, the intake, the calorie intake.
Caloric intake.
Caloric intake. You can find that probably online. So it depends on more or less your gender, your weight, your size, and your level of activity, of physical activity. Can give you a good guide of how much do you need. I knew though in some challenges, for example, when I went in Hawaii, I really had to bring enough food, and so I really calculated it. All right, I know I'm gonna burn at least 4,500 calories. So because all the weight is important over there, I'm gonna carry it. Where here, I just bring food in bags and coolers, so whatever that is. Whereas over there, I really need to be specific. I need that amount of calorie, and it has to be light and easy to carry. Another question I got about coffee or caffeine. Someone says, I saw in the previous video you were drinking a coffee. Is it good for performance and everything? Well, hold on, I'm searching my words. So caffeine, it doesn't improve your performance in the sense that it will make you run faster or make you lift heavier. What it does is it stops the message of pain, so that you might run to a certain pace that would be painful without caffeine, but you don't feel it because the caffeine stopped the message to go through. But for more details on that, I have Tim is actually a good expert in that, so I will let him talk to you while I finish cleaning myself and start to eating.
So Helen did a pretty good job of explaining that. When we start talking and discussing caffeine and how caffeine plays into performance, we need to recognize that caffeine plays into we talked about receptors last time, and that's like a lock and key system. And if you don't have the right lock and key, it doesn't work. Well, with caffeine, what caffeine does is it will lock into what's called an adenosine receptor. And adenosine is associated with what's called nociception. What people don't realize is there's a difference between nociception and pain. Pain is more psychological. So do you perceive pain? Whereas nociception is actually the physiology behind how pain is sensed, so like with the nerves. In this regard, pain can be perceived, right, in terms of, or actually the nociception can occur, so the physiological part, in terms of chemical or pressure. So when you have these nerve endings, there's chemical, so as the body works, chemicals are produced that are actually not noxious or kind of poisonous for the body. And when they hit those nerve endings or the receptors, those nerve endings fire, and that creates this pain. On the flip side, how many people out there have run and you get swelling? Well, when your muscles start to swell, it puts pressure on those nerve endings, and that pressure also causes pain. So, matter of fact, compartment syndrome, a lot of athletes may get compartment syndrome, very painful thing. That's kind of this concept of a pressure receptor as opposed to chemoreceptor. Now back to caffeine, how it works with the chemoreceptor. The specific receptor is adenosine. The caffeine will bind with adenosine. Now what happens is as you begin to work and exercise, those noxious chemicals will try to bind with a receptor. However, it's competing for the adenosine receptor with the caffeine. And so because caffeine owns that spot, the noxious stimuli can't get in there, and the nociception doesn't occur, and the nerve signal doesn't go to your brain. Therefore, you're not going to perceive the pain. Well, what we found in studies, and I've done a couple of these also. I have, there's work that's been done at the University of Georgia that's looked at a lot of this. What we found is if you have athletes, these were cyclists, we had cyclists work, they were actually able to perform significantly better when taking caffeine. And it's largely because the pain doesn't prevent them from wanting to slow down their pace. So coffee, back to coffee and caffeine, coffee is just a mechanism by which the caffeine can be put into the body. So same thing works with caffeine pills. So if you were going to do a race, and here's some numbers for you. Mind you that caffeine is a drug, and like any drug, it can hurt you if not done in moderation or taken care of. But what we tend to see is that with usually around 5 milligrams, anywhere from 3 to 5 milligrams per kilogram body weight, you begin to see these performance improvements. When you start getting above 5 milligrams per kilogram body weight, some studies have done upwards of 10. Although you still see performance increase, you see increased anxiety. For sports where you need to have significant concentration, you start to get the jitters, and so there's negative side effects associated with that. To give you an idea of what 5 milligrams per kilogram body weight is, that's like drinking 3 to 5 cups of coffee. So it's a significant amount. But if you want to improve your performance, to take maybe some caffeine pills would help you improve. Why? Because it blocks that adenosine receptor. It reduces the perception of pain, and you'll be able to move farther, faster, and harder because you lose that pain governor. So probably more than you ever wanted to know about pain. But if you have questions or want more details, shoot Helen or I an email, and I'll get you the research. So back to Helen.
No, this is great stuff, and so I never really consciously say, oh, I'm going to drink coffee or have a caffeine pill to avoid the pain. It's more to stay awake or fight that in these long endurance challenge. Yeah, you don't want to fall asleep while you run. So this is mainly when I remember in Florida at the end of last night, the fourth night, so we were very sleep deprived. We're walking like zombie in the night, and all right, it's time for caffeine peeling. Okay, at least you can stay a little bit more alert. So this is why mainly I take caffeine if I do. Last question I saw, so probably there are other that popped out since. I still have to check out when I have time. It was a good one, a long one, about like, so apparently the people who perform in long ultra distances are people that started running later. Is that right? What is it about? That's an excellent question. We know a good friend, an ultra runner. He's also an anthropologist, Ian McNairn.
Mhm.
We'll give him a shout and ask him if he can get us back about it, because he's the best to explain that. He's actually right now doing one of the biggest and maybe the first study about ultra running. It's still a young sport, you know. Once the marathon was the thing, now it's becoming the, you know, the 50 miler, the 100 miler will become the new marathon. So more and more people are going into ultra distances, and so Ian McNairn can talk a lot about it because that's his subject of study, of expertise. So I hope I can get a hold of him this week so we can chat with him about it. I had nothing to share. I can't remember. Well, you know what? I'll get you back later before maybe hitting my small loop. I'll finish eating, sending myself, and I'll get you back right before, just to say a quick hello. And I have, I'll get you back, so maximum maybe an hour. All right?